Hi everyone, my name is Harley and welcome to TransByDef on Saturdays. This week's topic is sharing a story. It could be trans-related or a funny story or something like that, and the combinations of it. So I'm going to just mention a few things, a couple stories that happened to me that, I think it's kind of funny being transgender in a sense. So here's a few stories. First story, when I started to appear as a female and go to clubs and bars, and this is before I went full time. I would go to like the bouncer and I will show him my ID, and it would be, my ID when I was 18 years old. So it was a guy on there with really thick eyebrows. Definitely looks Italian on there, and they would look at it and they're like, "This ain't you," and then they would give it back to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, it is," and they're like, "This ain't you," and I swear this guy was going back and forth with me saying, "This ain't you for real," and I'm like, "For real," and so eventually, eventually the guy's like, "Okay," and what really struck me was, what's kind of funny is how many of those bouncers really let me pass, even though it doesn't look like, even though that picture didn't look like me. It's almost like a good way to make a fake ID is just to get some other gender person and show them that ID. But I don't want to start something, because then it's going to be like, I don't want to like if everyone starts doing it, then it's going to make transgenders a little bit difficult to get through the gates. So, anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny in a sense. So the second story I had was when it's always like, I don't know, I always like to kid around and kind of see what people's reactions would be. So one thing I did was, when I was calling in my renter's insurance to change my name over, I went over and said, "Hey, I need to change the insurance from James to Harleen," and they're like, "So you're saying that? So wait a minute, you're having another person's moving in?" And I said, "No," and they're like, "What?" I said, "Well, yeah, just change the name James to Harleen." And they're like, "Wait a minute, so there's someone moving in?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, I just like, "Well, I changed my name." And they're saying, oh, so how does that work?" And I'm like, "Wait, how does what?" Like, they didn't know how to change the name on the insurance. And I'm like, they were just like, "What kind of paperwork do you have?" I'm like, "Well, I have a judgment and I have my driver's license." So I thought it was kind of funny in a sense, like bewildering in people. That's always a fun part, is when people are like, oh, and it's a touchy subject and they're afraid to like say something wrong as soon as that happens. But I'm a pretty cool person about anything like that. Anyways, so here's my final story, and I think this was a pretty funny one that happened to me pretty recently. So 3 months ago, before I came full-time, obviously, at work we would do a happy hour. We would go to some place and drink beer, and it was sort of our happy hour time. And a couple guys that I go with knew about it. So this one time, it was 2 of my coworkers. We were working. They're both really cool people, and I just get out of work, so I'm in my guy clothes. I'm completely in guy mode. And my hair was like just a mess, because I usually don't do my hair too well when I was in guy mode. I just would brush it or something like that. So anyways, I go to World Beer and I'm drinking beer, and I'm about to cash out. I'm like, okay, I'm like, "Guys, I think I'm done," and I'm like, drinking. And like, I said, "I think I'm done," and as soon as I said that, the waitress brought me another beer, and I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't order this. And she's like, "It's okay, she ordered it." And I was like, And both the guys are like, you know, just like, what? This girl bought you a drink? And I was like, holy shit, she did. And I'm like, I'm blushing, and I'm like, oh my god. And she's just like, hi. And I'm like, oh my god. And she was pretty cute too. And I was like, oh my god. And both my coworkers are just in shock because they're like, that shit never happens to me. And I'm fucking like 40 or something, like, you know, it's just like but it was a really funny thing, and it was just it was pretty funny. So she comes over and she starts talking to me, and I'm like, you know, we're talking a lot. I said, hi, my name's James. And, you know, I was like, you know, we were talking, and she actually accidentally saw some of my photos from, you know, me dressing like a girl and stuff like that. And it was, you know, I kind of sensed that, oh my god, you know, she saw it, but I was like, whatever. So eventually I got her number, and I didn't want to call her because I was like, you know, I don't want to enter a relationship as a guy and then tell her I was, you know, going as trans. You know, I felt that was kind of, I didn't like that sense, you know, of like starting a relationship as a guy at my point in the time when I'm about to switch to full time pretty soon. And so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna call her. You know, I'm thinking like, just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And my friends were like, you should, you know. I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I just don't feel, I felt like really awkward and stuff. So, okay, so then here's where the funny part comes in. A couple weeks ago, I think, actually, yeah, 2 weeks ago, we were doing a happy hour, and I didn't go. I didn't go this time. I just, I had electrolysis in the evening, so I didn't go, and all of a sudden I get a text from one of my friends whose dad happens to be here. He says, you remember that girl that bought you a drink? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yo, she's a lesbian. And I'm like, what? For real? The girl that bought me a drink? And he's like, yeah, she's a lesbian. And I said, oh my god. And he was saying, yeah, she was pretty upset when you said your name was James. She thought you were a girl. And I was just like, fucking for real? I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my god, she thought I was like, even being in guy clothes, I was just like, holy shit, like, such a miscommunication. I'm like, you know, and everything started making sense then. It like, as soon as I told her my name was James, she was like that, and I remember this whole, like, crazy awkwardness is going on, like, I told her my name was James, but then she saw, like, girl photos of me, and I knew, like, she was just getting bewildered. And, like, even my coworkers was trying to figure out why she was buying me a drink. And, like, they were just, it was, like, such a funny, like everything made sense 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh my god, I didn't see that. And I'm like, I sensed she was a lesbian, just a little, like, there's just a little, like, I had a first opinion about it, but then as soon as she came up to me, I was like, I brushed it off. And then I was just like, oh my god, oh my god. And it was just so funny how that happened. And yeah, that was just a funny story for me. But anyways, I think that's about it for today. I will see you, or you will see me, probably next week. So till then, my name's Harley, and I am signing out today. Bye!